O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient. Thou art Sat, Chit, Ananda. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptations and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, greed, anger and hatred, and fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold Thee in all these names and forms, O Lord. Let us serve Thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember Thee. Let us ever sing Thy glories. Let Thy name be ever on our lips, and let us abide in Thee forever and ever. Om Shanti, 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 Harihi Om.
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो,
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो,
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो,
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो।
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु,
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु,
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु,
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु।
कृपा कर अपनायो,
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो,
पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन धन पायो।
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई,
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई,
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई, जन्म जन्म की
पूंजी पाई।
जग में सभी खोवायो,
पायो जी मैंने
राम
रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो।
राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो।
खर्च न खूटे, चोर न लूटे,
खर्च न खूटे, चोर न लूटे,
खर्च न खूटे, चोर न लूटे,
खर्च न खूटे, चोर न लूटे।
दिन दिन बढ़त समायो,
पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन
धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो।
राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो, राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन धन पायो, पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो।
सत की नाव हेवतिया सतगुरु,
सत की नाव हेवतिया सतगुरु,
भवसागर तर आयो,
भवसागर तर आयो।
मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर,
मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर,
मीरा के प्रभु प्रभु मीरा के प्रभु मीरा के प्रभु गिरधर नागर हरक हरक जस गायो
पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन
धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
वस्तुअमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
वस्तुअमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
कृपा कर अपनायो
पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन
धन पायो पायो
जी मैंने राम रतन राम रतन राम रतन What has the Guru given? Ram Ratan Dhan Payo. He has given the wealth of the love of Rama. Vastu Amolak, this priceless gift. Di mere Sat Guru. I could not have gotten it on my own. By the blessings of the Guru. And so compassionate and sweet he is. Kirpa kar apnayo. He has made me his by his own kirpa. This love for Ram I now enjoy. But on reflection, my dear brothers and sisters, the poet is saying this wealth was there all the time. Janam janam ki punji pai. It was there. I did not recognize it, however. Why? Jag mein sabhi khovayo. Because I was lost in the world. My attention was focused in the wrong direction. I did not see it. I was not aware of it. How unique is this wealth? Kharche na khoote. It is one wealth, my dear brothers and sisters. No matter how much you spend, it does not decrease in quantity. Chor na loote. No one can steal this away from you. As a matter of fact, din din badhat samayo. Day by day it is increasing in quantity. Why should you not want to possess that kind of wealth? Payo ji maine Ram Ratan Dhan payo. This is our celebration tonight, my dear brothers and sisters. The mere fact that you have come here in this large number is indicative of your knowledge of the self. Swagatam is a very powerful word, although it means welcome. Swa, the self. Pay attention to the self. That is what we do when we come to the mandir. Let's sing this beautiful bhajan to Krishna. Jagat Guru. और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
ओ बनवारी कृष्ण मुरारी,
ओ बनवारी कृष्ण मुरारी,
ओ बनवारी कृष्ण मुरारी।
ओ बनवारी कृष्ण मुरारी।
नाथ नगर नंदलाल,
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
नाथ नगर नंदलाल।
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
यमुना तट पर श्याम मुरारी आए, गोकुल के नर नारी।
यमुना तट पर श्याम मुरारी आए, गोकुल के नर नारी।
यमुना जी है सूखी सूखी, बैल है प्यासे गैया भूखी।
यमुना जी है सूखी सूखी, बैल है प्यासी गैया भूखी।
आस लगा के सब बैठे हैं, आस लगा के सब बैठे हैं। आओ ब्रज के बार,
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
ब्रज के बार,
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
यमुना तट पर श्याम मुरारी आए, गोकुल के नर नारी।
यमुना तट पर श्याम मुरारी आई, गोकुल के नर नारी।
यमुना जी है सूखी सूखी, बैल है प्यासे गैया भूखी।
यमुना जी है सूखी सूखी, बैल प्यासी गैया भूखी।
आस लगा के सब बैठे हैं,
आस लगा के सब बैठे हैं।
आओ ब्रज के बार,
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
आओ ब्रज के बाल।
हमारे दुख हरो गोपाल।
और के दुख हरो है तुमने, हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
हमारे भी दुख हरो गोपाल।
हमारे भी।
दुख हरो गोपाल।
प्रेम से बोलो वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय। Kindly now pay attention to your handout and we recite to begin our katha these important verses. First verse of Gita. Please repeat after me. धर्म क्षेत्रे
धर्म क्षेत्रे
कुरुक्षेत्रे
कुरुक्षेत्रे
समवेता
समवेता
युयुत्सवः
युयुत्सवः
मामकाः
मामकाः
पाण्डवश्चैव
पाण्डवश्चैव
किं कुर्वत्
किं कुर्वत्
संजय।
संजय।
First चौपाई of Ramayana. बंदव गुरुपद पदम परागा।
बंदव गुरुपद पदम परागा।
बंदव गुरुपद पदम परागा।
बंदव गुरुपद पदम परागा।
सुरुचि सुवास सरस verse of Gita. Yatra yogeshwarah Krishno,
यत्र योगेश्वरः कृष्णो
yatra partho dhanurdharah,
यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः
tatra shrir vijayo bhutir,
तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिर्
ध्रुवानीtir matir mama.
ध्रुवानीतिर्मतिर्मम
Last doha of Ramayana. Kami nari piyari jimi, lobahi priya jimidar.
कामिनी नारी प्यारी जिमी लोभ ही प्रिया जिमीना
Jimi raghunath nirantara, priya laga mera.
बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम
Kami nari piyari jimi, lobahi priya jimidar. Kami
नारी प्यारी जिमी लोभ ही प्रिया जिमीना
Jimi raghunath nirantara, priya laga mera.
बोलो राम 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 बोलो राम
It is necessary, my dear brothers and sisters, to enjoin ourselves in kirtan, in bhajans, in puja before Ram's Katha. And it will not be difficult for you to understand why. We have passed through another day. Our deliberation with the world, for some of us, was very tough today. Our thoughts are still wavering. When we come to satsang, it is necessary to harness these thoughts and focus only in one direction. And the most powerful method available for us to do so is kirtan. Where collectively we sing, hoping that we will forget the turmoils of this day. We shall now begin, and very sadly, we will look at the last few verses to conclude this yajna. We're looking with a very interesting eye to the writings of Goswami Tulsidas ji in Sundarkand. This is the chapter where we see a devotee is dedicating his life to service to God. And with such a statement, it is not difficult to relate. If one asks the question, why study Sundarkand? The answer is, I want to pattern my life after the devotee who enjoys the hero role in these pages of the Ramayana. And we're talking about Hanuman. Hanu means to destroy, man, pride. If we do not believe in Hanuman as a person, then believe in him as a phenomena. Only that man who is void of ego will be able to find and enjoy God's consciousness. So far we're looking at the obstacles he's being confronted with as he goes to Lanka. And all of us are very much part of this journey. I hope you remember last night when we examined the obstacle of Simhika And we saw the power she possessed to pull an object flying over in the heavens. Using the shadow that is cast, she's able to pull that object down. And it is difficult to examine to our simple mind's satisfaction the complexity of such a scenario. But last night, we came to the conclusion that the philosophy of that scenario should guide us to God's realization. And what do I mean? All of us seem to have two identities. There is the real identity or real self, and then there is the fictitious or false self. The real self is casting a shadow, and we are satisfied that we are only the shadow. We do not know what this real self is. The shadow is pulling the real self down, my dear brothers and sisters. The shadow being our senses, our minds. We are living at that level. We exist at that level. We are not yet powerful enough to attain the status of intellect. And so, like that object being pulled down, our fictitious self is taking full control of our existence. And then we move on to Sursa. And finally, Hanumanji now reaches Lanka. How interesting was his observation. We concluded he very playfully ascended this hill. He circumspected Lanka, and now he's going to make his grand entrance. We begin the presentation from page 6, the Chaupai at the top left. समान रूप कपि धरी लंक ही चले सुमिरी नरहरि. मसक समान मसक समान रूप लंकही चले सुमिरी नरहरि. मसक समान रूप कपि लंकही चले सुमिरी नरहरि. नाम लंकिनी एक masak saman. So last night we saw Hanumanji, after carefully studying the situation, he made two decisions. He's going to assume a very tiny form, and one would definitely understand why. And then he's going to enter the city at night. And we went into the details of those two reasons. Now, in this verse, we are told to what size he reduced himself. Masak saman. Masak means mosquito. He reduced his huge form to the size of a mosquito. And this statement, of course, raises doubts. Can this really happen? I hope you will not entertain too much of doubt. Because before your very eyes, you've seen what magicians can do. And if magicians can do such, do you question the power of God? Not at all. That is why God is described as omnipotent. Anything is fixed. The Chopaya, he's going to assume a very tiny form, and one would definitely understand why. And then he's going to enter the city at night. And we went into the details of those two reasons. Now, in this verse, we are told to what size he reduced himself. Masak saman. Masak means mosquito. He reduced his huge form to the size of a mosquito. And this statement, of course, raises doubts. Can this really happen? I hope you will not entertain too much of doubt. Because before your very eyes, you've seen what magicians can do. And if magicians can do such, do you question the power of God? Not at all. That is why God is described as omnipotent. Anything is possible. Do not question his power. So masak saman roop kapidhari, lanka hi chale usumiri narhari. He invokes Narhari, Narsingh Bhagwan. He wants to extract more power, more strength from his Lord. Now, as he makes his entrance, Namalankini ek nisichari. Tulsidas ji introduces the gatekeeper to us. Who was this gatekeeper of Lanka? Lankini. Ek nisichari. Ek there, very significant word, although small. One of her type only. Lankini was a very powerful lady. And my dear brothers and sisters, I must, and I gladly do this, report to you that I've had many calls on this presentation. I never had so many since I'm reading Ramayana. And some very interesting questions were asked. And one very bright young man today called and said, you know, Panditji, you spoke about the obstacles that Hanumanji met with. And to my surprise, they were all women. You recognize that? Sursama was a demoness, Simhika was a demoness, and Lankini again. I would not venture to give an explanation there. I will do so in another state, not in New York. Why are women used to test? Because I love Divya Dham and I want to come here more often. The answer to that is very debatable, and some of our sisters may want to debate. Why? But for now, accept. And my brothers, please accept as well. Our sisters are more powerful than us. They're more courageous and more brilliant. And just imagine, the Lord, wanting to test Hanumanji's strength, assumed the form of a lady. That is enough praises for our women. मसक समान रूप कपिधरी लंक ही चले सुमिरी नरहरि नाम लंकिनी ek निशिचरी. Now, although Hanumanji reduced himself to such a small size, he was identified as a stranger coming into Lanka. And the first words that met his ears, So kahachale si mohi nindari, where do you think you're going without my permission? And one must pause and assess the power of Lankini here. She is a gatekeeper. Now this was night time already, and we know that many gatekeepers sleep as soon as it gets dark. That is the common situation. Lankini is alert, she's very observant, and she knows that here a stranger is coming in. In the next verse, she brings out some of her power. जाने स्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित्सुखं परमहंसगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरत् सुषुप्तिमवैति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम नमस्कार अस्सलाम वालेकुम सीताराम good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, my dear brothers and sisters. This is your friend and brother Acharya Arun Gossai coming to you live from New York City on another segment of Avenues to Peace. A program, my dear friends, where we analyze the various means, the various methodologies, and the various formulas for achieving the everlasting bliss that we are looking for in this world. A special thank you to my brother Roshan ji, to Pooja ji, and to Ashti ji for allowing today's program to be possible right here on Abee Chunes Facebook Live, Bhuvanesha Mandir Facebook Live, and AbeeChunes.com. My dear brothers and sisters, we've just completed the Ganesh Utsav, starting with Chaturthi, going for 10 days until Anant Chaturdashi, where Lord Ganesha's form would have been so immersed in our ocean of the mind that we begin to practice his philosophies daily. With all obstacles removed, my dear brothers and sisters, one's mind becomes free to adore and to thank the ancestors for all that they've done. This period that we're in, that started, my dear brothers and sisters, September 20th on the eastern part of the United States at 8 p.m. according to the lunar calendar,
that will go all the way until October 5th into the 6th. For 2 weeks, my dear friends, this specific time that we're in is known as Pitru Paksha. Now, when Ganesha, let's look at the logic of why these saints and sages would have put this holiday right in the middle of Ganesh Utsav and in the middle of the Navaratri celebration as well. You see, Ganesh means remover of obstacles, impediments, and difficulties. And Navaratri signifies Durgeshwari Ma, who is none other than Shraddha herself, or faith. When, my dear friends, the obstacles are removed from our lives, when we would have focused on the phenomenon known as Ganesha and analyzed this murti to a T, small eyes again, focus on her goals and aspirations, not just material life, large ears listening more to the scriptural injunctions, large belly digestion of all things good and bad in the world, never being affected by digesting what we can to transform our lives. When we would have seen this form and merged it into the ocean, Visarjan, into the ocean of the mind, not a physical ocean per se, but in the mind, what will happen is we would be ready and able to understand the ancestors' roles in our life. You see, once the mind is somewhat pacified by spiritual knowledge, and Ganesh Utsav was simply a sharing of this knowledge from the Chaturthi all the way to Anant Chaturdashi. And then the Purnima, my dear brothers and sisters, happened that same night where Hindus would have felt complete because of this knowledge. And the complete person, my dear brothers and sisters, can very well adore those who would have brought completion into their lives, would have remembered those who would have been worth remembering, those who have paved the way, my dear brothers and sisters, and put everything where we would have needed it to be with their vision so that we could advance further in this life. And of course, I'm speaking about the Pitris. Pitris means ancestor. Pitre means ancestors, my dear brothers and sisters. And Paksha. Paksh means 2 weeks, a fortnight. So in the Shukla Paksha, which is the bright half of the month, leading up to the Purnima, that wonderful Lord Ganesha was adored. Now going into the Krishna Paksha, where now the moon is getting smaller and smaller into the Amavasya, which will happen 2 weeks from now, 1 fortnight from now. That is when Pitru Paksh will come to an end, and then the next month begins, Sharad, where Navaratri will begin. So in this specific span of time, what should we be doing as Hindus? First of all, Pitra, again, ancestors, Paksha, 2 weeks. 2 weeks dedicated to glorification, remembrance, and adoration of those, again, who have come before us, that are worth adoring. Why? Because you see the body that you have, let's take the physical body first. The body that you have is an end result of millions upon millions of years of evolution. Starting from a single cellular organism all the way to the animals that would have existed before humans. We still have some of their cells, some of their genes and DNA inside of us, my dear friends. It's just the human body is just so much more evolved. And in the midst of that would have come all of the members of our lineage. So I hope you know that when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're seeing thousands upon millions of years culmination of evolution. This is the most important thing to remember, that the evolution that allowed all of this to take place, of course, is brought by the Lord. But in the midst of that evolution, all of our lineage, our ancestors, played a vital role in sending their DNA and their genes down, passing them down until you, my dear brothers and sisters, would have been born, and you are the end result of thousands of years of evolution and generations and DNA and genes being passed down. So you have your para 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 paranana, para 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 paranani, paranana, paranani, your mother and father, mata pita, and then you. So all of them, the common thread, my dear brothers and sisters, is the genes and the wonderful, I would say, the mindset of the family lineage also. Everything that puts you together as an individual, as a complete individual. We must thank the ancestors first and foremost for not only the gift of the body, because if you look at your nose, you may very well have the same nose as your great, 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 great grandfather. You may very well have the personality of your great grandmother. So you are a product, my dear brothers and sisters, of again, thousands upon thousands of generations of the handing down of DNA and genes. And this is what we enjoy today, this human body. So the saints and sages thought it very wise, and you must applaud them for creating this wonderful time in the astrology of the Hindu pantheon of the year, where that at this specific time, this specific lunar time, my dear brothers and sisters, for 2 weeks, we would echo the glories of those who have made this life possible. This is the first aspect of Pitru Paksh. But in addition to this, my dear brothers and sisters, Pitru Paksh means so much more to us than we can ever imagine. Think about it. 2 weeks dedicated to ancestors because of the important role, because of the way they paved the way, as we saw. But you must look at how important this holiday is in the grand scheme of Hindu holidays, in the grand pantheon of fathers. It is 2 weeks long, 15 to 14 days. Now you must ask yourself the question, is Pitru Paksh the longest holiday in Hinduism? And the answer is yes. Pitru Paksha, and I want you to listen to this point very carefully. Pitru Paksha is the longest Hindu observance on the calendar. Pitru Paksha is 14 to 15 days. Second largest is Ganesh Utsav that just passed. And then the third largest is Navaratri that will come after Pitru Paksh for 9 nights. So right off the bat, my dear brothers and sisters, we see the importance of Pitras in our life. Because without them, we would not even know what is Ganesh. We would not even know who is Durga. We would not even know what religion we belong to. We would not even know the knowledge to transform our lives. We would not even know what Vedas are, Upanishads are, what scriptures are. We would not even know the injuncts to learn more about who we truly are. We would just be lost in this society, thinking that we are the body. And then, with body identification, selfishness spawns from that. So look at the importance of the ancestors. Without them, we would not be where we are worldly, in the worldly sense, and more than that, in the knowledge sense. They have passed down everything, even secular academic knowledge. They've passed all of that down. Zoology, botany, chemistry. They've passed that down. Albert Einstein, Sir Isaac Newton, all of these great physicists have passed on the laws that are natural, but now we know of them because of those great souls. Hence Pitru Paksh. Your great-grandfather would have passed down the teachings of the Ramayana. You worship them because of this. So my dear brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to say is Pitru Paksh is a very, very auspicious time of remembrance of the ancestors, praying for them, doing whatever you have to ensure that they will be pleased with your actions. It is said that the gates of heaven open up during this time of Pitra Lok. Pitra means ancestors, Lok means the world of the ancestors, which is simply another dimension where the souls exist. Some people have had accounts where they would have actually seen maybe a soul, because people have this divine vision that they actually can see in the 6th dimension, which is actually higher than that of 3D. So in this way, my dear brothers and sisters, when they see these souls, they're seen as elevating. They're somewhat off the ground. You know why? Because they do not exist at the same dimension as Earth. It's a parallel dimension of the unseen. This is known as Pitru Paksh. And when this time comes about, my dear brothers and sisters, the gateway of Pitra Paksha, of Pitra Lok is open, and all of them come and they visit their loved ones. And they exist there for some time. They come down to earth and they roam for a bit, and then they move back on to Pitra Lok. But this by no means, my dear friends, is a time of fear. First of all, unless you're extremely gifted, you will not be able to see them. But you may feel their presence. The loved ones that have passed on, that have moved on, that you would have missed tremendously, guaranteed that they'll be closer to you than ever during this time of year. And when you, my dear brothers and sisters, can take the time with your family to not worship the ancestors, but remember them, to adore them. So the first thing that we have to speak about today is that Pitra Paksha is not a worship of the ancestors. We're not worshiping the dead. These are the misunderstandings and, again, the miscommunication that has been passed down again from generations regarding this holiday. It is not a worship of the dead. Please get that out of your mind. It is an adoration of the ancestors for all that they have done. So the Pitras come, they see what is going on. They have the power, tremendous power to bless. So as you speak to them, as you pray for them, as you do whatever you have to do on behalf of them, they will continue to look after you and bless you. And during this time, it is worthwhile to note that we should all be offering offerings to the Lord on behalf of the Pitras. And I'll give you a very simple method to do so. All you have to do is take a lota of water. I'm sure all of you have a lota. All you have to do again is take the lota, a piece of kush grass, and you take your black sesame, which is til. That combination of til, the kush grass, and the lota, and water inside creates what is called tilanjali. Til means the black sesame, which is the favorite of Pundarikaksham, which is none other than Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu, as we know, is a sustainer and is responsible for dispatching the souls when they need to come to earth and taking them also, sustaining the entire universe. He's the overseer of everything. Taking your lota with kush grass, with the tilanjali, you face the southern direction outside and you pour from eye level. And what you say is something very simple. Keep it very simple and speak to your Lord in the language of love. What you say is, Om Sarva Pitra Bhyo Namo Namah. If someone can type that, that'll be good. Om Sarva Pitra Bhyo Namo Namah. When you chant this and you pour that water, remember your Pitras. Remember the good things that they've done for you. Remember them, and they will continue to be blessed, and they will bless you in the process. What we have to understand, my dear friends, is when we offer Tilanjali, when we do Tarpan, when we do Pindas and so on, what this represents is adding more punyas to the existence of that soul, wherever they may be. You know, when they're existing in heaven, they cannot do the karmas that we do on earth and get punyas for that. So that is why we have to do this, what is called Shrad. Shrad means a type of worship where we worship Bhagwan Narayan, we appease Yamraj, and we also do all of these on behalf of the Pitras so that punyas go into their account so that they can stay in heaven longer. You know, like it is very simple to understand when we give an actual example or some sort of connection, an example that will show what exactly we're talking about when we say fuel your account in the afterlife. When I was studying in India, my dear brothers and sisters, I had no banking, I had no money, nothing, no ability to go and get money when I was in India. So whenever I needed money because of my studies, I had to call home and my mother would Western Union the money from New York to India. It is kind of like that. We're on earth and they're in Pitralok. They have no access to the punya account. So what we have to do to refill their account is we have to send them punyas by way of throwing this dar every day, not only Pitra Paksh, but as often as you can. Don't only wait till Pitra Paksh to throw this Tilanjali and say, Om Sarva Pitribhyo Namo Namaha. Om Sarva Pitribhyo Namo Namaha. You can do it anytime and offer this offering on behalf of them. The Lord will be so happy and bless them wherever they are, and you will get tremendous blessings from that. So this is one thing that you can do for them. The clarion call, and it's very important that we all take careful note of this also, is that Pitra Paksh is not a time for you to stop your pujas. It is not a time for you to stop prayer. As a matter of fact, we've been told from generations to come that we must stop prayer and puja, that these are not to be done during this time. My dear brothers and sisters, let me ask you a question. If we stop prayer and we stop our pujas, what are we going to do? Do you not see the mind is going to stray into all sorts of wrong things and bad things if we don't keep it focused on prayer and God and puja? What we should do is intensify. Another word for Pitra Paksh is Shrad. And the word Shrad comes from Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Shrad means of intense faith. So what we have to do during this time of Pitra Paksh, my dear brothers and sisters, is intensify the faith that we have in the Lord. Intensify your worship. Intensify your pujas. Don't be afraid. The Lord takes no holidays, nor will the Lord sin you for reaching out to him. I guarantee it. Think about your own parents for a second. Is there any time on this calendar where a child cannot go to a mother and say, I love you, and worship them and offer and adore them? Exactly. So if mother will not reject a child, how about the universal mother, the Lord? So in this way, do not stop your pujas. Do not stop your prayers. Intensify them, but do something more during these 2 periods, these 2 weeks. What should you do? Dedicate all puja, all of what you do, all prayers, dedicate them to the ancestors. Dedicate them to the Lord and ask the Lord to bless those ancestors, and may those ancestors forever be happy because we continued our prayers, we continued our worship during this time. So Pitra Paksh, my dear brothers and sisters, I want to tell you, is a very important time of the year. It is the longest observance on the Hindu calendar, longer than the Ganesh Utsav, 10 days, and longer than Navaratri, which is 9 to 10 days. Ganesh Utsav being 2 weeks, 14 to 15 days, shows us the importance, number one, of remembrance of the ancestors, and number two, the importance of doing these type of rituals. Tarapan, Tilanjali, offering of your jal in the southern direction. And when you do so, you're replenishing their punya account. Punya means merits, so that they can stay in heaven for a long time. Because there'll come a time where generations will pass and the people who are left behind will not remember their great-great-great-grandfather. And what will happen is their punyas will be reduced, and then one day they will, kshine punye, their punyas will be depleted, and then mritya loke patanti, they will fall back onto the earth and be born again. So if we want to keep our ancestors in heaven for a long time so that they can enjoy and not come to this world of temporary existence where, if you look around you, very difficult for a soul to evolve in this life. To keep them in heaven for a long time, to be safe and happy, we do all of these and to pay the highest tribute to our ancestors who've brought us to where we are in this world, who have given us this body, who have given us our philosophies, who have given us our ways of life. We thank those ancestors first and foremost for all that they have done. So it is up to you, my dear brothers and sisters, to take charge of this very auspicious time. Don't think that this is a 2-week period that we have to take a break from prayer. No, a lot of people are misunderstood. This is a time where we have to intensify Shraddha. That is why it's known as Shrad. Don't think of it to be a time where Jombi walk after 6. Please, my dear brothers and sisters, do not be afraid. The ancestors are not Jombi. The ancestors are divine. Sarva Pitra Deva. They are Devas. They are the Lord, my dear brothers and sisters. They are in the form of manifestations of God, also known as angels. They are Devatas. They come down to earth to bless us. Intensify your prayer, intensify your worship, intensify your offerings on behalf of them to God, and they shall bless you during this time. More about Pitru Paksh we'll see as the days go on. And also, Bhubaneswar Mandir this Sunday will be doing elaborate look at what Pitru Paksh is, what the soul is, what happens after death, and so on. And the significance of the 13-day and the year work also, the yearly Shraddha, Antishti Karma and Varshika Shraddha. We'll be looking at all of that. So God bless all of you, my dear brothers and sisters. May you continuously pray to the Lord. Do not use this 2 weeks wastefully to do other things besides prayer and puja. Intensify your puja. There's no day where God does not want to hear from you or want you to offer something towards Him. But in these 2 weeks, make it abundantly clear that puja, prayer should continue, but you should dedicate all of them to God on behalf of the ancestors. Call your ancestors' names while you're doing your puja and allow them to partake in the rich blessings of this sacred time. God bless all of you. This is your friend and brother, Acharya Arun Gossai, coming to you live from New York. Jai Shri Ram.
नहीं मरम सठ मोरा पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
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 वस्तु अमोलक अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
वस्तु अमोलक दी मेरे सतगुरु
कृपा कर अपनायो
पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई
जन्म जन्म की पूंजी पाई जन्म जन्म की
पूंजी पाई
जग में सभी खोवायो
पायो जी मैंने
राम
रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
राम रतन धन पायो राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने
राम रतन धन पायो पायो जी मैंने राम रतन धन पायो
खर्च न खूटे चोर न लूटे
हर दिन घूटे चोर न लूटे
खर्च न